So we are here with WWE Hall of Famer Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And Ted, I know you from the WWF. Just thank you for being here today. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure. Yeah. You bet. My pleasure.
So I just want to know what was your path to getting to the WWF, WWE? How did you get there?
Well, you know, it's like one of the questions I'm often asked is, of all the things you could have done in life, why did you choose to be a professional wrestler? Not a common job, right? What do you do for a living, Ted? Well, I run around in spandex and I get hit in the head with chairs. What do you do? But the answer to the question was my dad, actually my stepfather, who met my mother. My mother, and a lot of like serious fans know this, but the casual fan doesn't. My mother was a lady wrestler back in the day, and her wrestling name was Helen Hild, H-I-L-D, and that's how they met. My biological parents had divorced when I was 2, and my mom and Mike met, and then they got married in 1959. I was 5 years old, and into my life comes this bigger-than-life man who's not only a professional wrestler, but had a storied career at the University of Nebraska. I was there about a year ago to make an appearance at a minor league hockey game in Lincoln, and they gave me a tour of the whole athletic facility, which was just mind-blowing. But they took me into the wrestling room, and here's where all the plaques and everything, and they went, Ted, look right there. I look up, and there's a plaque with my dad's name on it. It's a conference champion 3 years in a row, like 1944, 45, and 46. So anyway, I had this unbelievable dad who I wanted to be just like. So there you go. I mean, all my life. I mean, I played college football, West Texas State, where a number of other guys, another story. There's a whole story about the guys who came out of West Texas State that became big-name professional wrestlers. Yeah. But that's the route I took, and here I am.
Yeah, we were just talking about that actually beforehand. I believe Dusty Rhodes was one of them. Stan Hill?
Dusty Rhodes, both the Funks, Terry Funk, Dory Funk Jr., Bobby Duncombe, Bruiser Brody.
Yeah. So if you want to be a wrestler, you definitely got to go to that school.
Myself and Tito Santana and Tully Blanchard were all on the same team. It's crazy.
That's one heck of like an
Stan Hansen, another guy.
Offensive line, right?
Yeah.
So it must have been one heck of a line. My Lord. So obviously you go from a football factory to a wrestler. I'm curious, where did the persona of the $1 Million Man come from? Because obviously, as soon as it seemed as though it was an instant success. Who were the creative minds behind your push as $1 Million Man?
The $1 Million Man, the idea, the concept, was a Vince McMahon original.
Yeah.
The way it was put to me, when I went to meet with Vince, and I know why Vince chose me, because the way I carry myself as a heel, a bad guy anyway, fits that character.
Absolutely.
And basically, in our lingo, we call it the chicken.
Yeah.
The chicken heel, right?
Right.
Basically the bully. You talk real big, and then when somebody confronts you, you become a coward. You take all the cheap shots, and you never get tired of seeing that guy get his butt kicked, right? And so what the $1 Million Man was, he bullied people with his wealth, and it was the same idea. But anyway, Vince and I, when I had the first meeting, he got called out of the office for a second, and I'm sitting there with Pat Patterson. And Pat was a great wrestler and was Vince's right-hand man for a long time, and another guy that I have a tremendous amount of respect for in terms of his knowledge of the psychology of wrestling. He leans over and he says, Ted, he says, here's all you need to know. If Vince could be a character in his own show, this is it. This is his baby. And knowing that, he's going to push this thing hard. And so that's all I needed to know.
That's so cool. That's so interesting.
You were giving the examples, and I'll never forget the time, I believe you asked a child to dribble a basketball 15 times, and on the 14th time, you kicked it away from him.
Just shoot it away.
You know what? If I had $1 for every time that's brought up, I'd be another millionaire.
I still laugh to this day.
Well, people ask me all the time, they go, of all the things that we did, that's the question I get the most. And they go, did you really do that to that kid? And I said, no. I said, number one, it was television, so it was staged. It was rehearsed. And I said, but when we rehearsed it, I was casual. We just went through it. But when it was live TV, I had to be hardcore $1 Million Man.
Sure.
The kid's only 6 years old, maybe.
Yeah, was a little kid.
And so the deal was he dribbled it 10 times, and if he could do it, I said, if you can do that again 15 times without missing, I'll give you $500. Boy, kid, I can tell you and your family could need the money. What a jerk, right?
Yeah, right.
And so the fans were counting. Well, here's where I was scared too. Now he could do it, but you could tell that he could do it. But at any time he might miss, and if he misses before we get to the kick, we blow the whole thing.
Sure,
Right.
So I'm kind of holding my breath, and he gets to 14. I just stick my foot out there. The ball bounces. Ah! You don't get the job done, kid. You don't get the money.
Right.
Crocodile tears welled up in his, and he had his thumb in his mouth. And he went running to his mom. Oh my gosh. So I got in the back, everybody's high-fiving. Oh, that was great, that was awesome. That's really gonna make him hate you. I said, I know, and I said, I'm glad you're all happy. I said, now can you find an armored vehicle to get me out of the building?
Right, exactly.
I said, they wanna kill me.
Now,
yeah.
the research I did into you.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I
go
have to
ahead.
add this. Now here's the rest of that story.
Yeah, please.
I get asked the question so many times. I finally said, look, I said, that was 20-some years ago. The guy's a full-grown man now. I said, he's probably going to walk up to me in an airport somewhere and tap me on the shoulder and go, hey, remember me?
Yeah.
And it happened.
No kidding.
Wow.
I flew to Omaha, Nebraska to make a speaking engagement, and I rented a car. It was one of the car rentals where you pick the, whatever, like economy or whatever, or luxury, whatever. And so pick the car you want. So I'm looking around for a car. This guy taps me on the shoulder, turn around. I'm looking at his chest. I look up, and he goes, hey, Mr. DiBiase. He says, I'm the manager here. And he said, can I help you find a car? And I said, sure. I said, find something that will fit both of us, And he said, I'd be happy to. He said, oh, yeah, by the way, he said, you know that thing you did with the kid, the basketball? And it was just a look on his face. It was like, and I went,
No.
and he goes, good to see you again.
Oh, no.
Gosh.
You have that
Oh my gosh.
$500
And
for
I
me?
said, well, obviously you're doing okay for yourself. He says, you're going to love this. He said, I actually went to college on a basketball scholarship. And then I said, see what I did for you, kid?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, really. And I said, well, were you any good? And he said, I got drafted by the Lakers. He said, but I didn't make the final cut.
So he could dribble 15 times in real life.
yeah. I wish I could, if I could find that guy, I know the WWE would do a story on him. I know they would.
Absolutely. That's incredible.
100%.
So I'm curious, so that kind of leads well into my next question, because obviously you were not always the $1 Million Man off camera, but I did do some research. Now, you can tell me how much is true or not, but Vince McMahon, is it true he gave you, and the WWF gave you money to, fly private and kind of at least going to events,
Well, it was,
be that persona?
I mean, yeah, when he laid the whole thing out to me, he said, we are going to the best of our ability make the public believe you're the guy.
Yeah.
So that means we're going to fly you everywhere first class. And in some cases, that'll mean private jets. And he said, you're going to have limousine service every day. And he said,
all right, I guess,
I don't want to see you staying at the Red Roof Inn anymore.
You're staying at the
It's
Marriott.
the Marriott, the Hilton, the Hyatt. It's a tough job. Somebody had to do it, right?
Yeah, right. Might as well be you.
Someone's got to make that sacrifice.
So, and then they even went so far as to give me money. I mean, this guy comes into the room and counts out $2,000 brand new $100 bills, and Vince says, "That's your flash cash."
Yeah.
He said, "Now, if you abuse this, you lose it.
Yeah.
But what I want you to do, you pick your spot or spots. Say you're in a restaurant eating or what have you, or you're in a little bar in a hotel, whatever, and there's a few people in there. Get up and announce yourself. Say, hey, I'm Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man of the WWF, and it's your lucky day. Round on the house on the $1 Million Man. So, slap down the $100 bills, get the receipt, bring the receipt back to us,
Sure.
we give you more money."
Wow, that's so
And so, you talk about social media. I mean, forget it. That news spread like wildfire.
Oh,
Oh my
my
gosh,
goodness.
this
No
guy
doubt
comes
about
in,
that.
he's got the money,
Incredible.
incredible,
So
And-
kind of going back into like your career now, you ended up stop wrestling and you went to be a ringside manager and you managed Stone Cold Steve Austin. What was it like, kind of transitioning from being a wrestler to now being the manager of egos instead of being the ego character?
Yeah.
it was a transition for sure, but I think it was a natural transition for me. I mean, I grew up in the business, and the one thing that I've always had a gift of, and I can't explain it. I mean, I've never done a scripted interview in my life. Even now, when a lot of the stuff is scripted, because a lot of it, I mean, most of it wasn't back in the 80s and the early 90s. It was just you did it, and you felt that as you go. So I didn't have a lot of things scripted, but what was I saying?
What was it like transitioning from the wrestler to now being the manager?
Too many chairs to the head. You know? Yeah. Okay. Well, it was an easy transition because when I physically stopped wrestling, what I had done is I herniated 2 discs in my neck, and it was degenerative, like years of taking a bump. And so now I'm not wrestling anymore. And when I first went back, basically, I first went back as a commentator. And then, Vince got that idea of like, well, you know what, the $1 Million Corporation. I said, let's do it. And so, he gave me several guys, and of course, Stone Cold was one of those guys. And here's a new guy that nobody knew at the time, but they saw the potential, and so they gave him to me. It's called, the rub. You rub, if you got somebody coming along that we can, he's going to be good. So put him with somebody that's going to help elevate his stature. And so that was what that was. And of course, usually you give a manager to a guy who needs a mouthpiece. Like there were certain guys like Andre always had somebody speak for him most of the time. Yeah. Several guys. I don't know why they gave me, Steve, because he certainly didn't need a mouthpiece.
Yeah, sure.
So.
Let's kind of transition to now a little bit. What I'm curious about, as you, Ted DiBiase, the evangelist and motivational speaker right now, as you look back kind of at the $1 Million Man, what is that like for you today to kind of look back at that time?
I tell everybody, I said, I think God's got a real sense of humor. Because of all the people who could have played the character of the $1 Million Man, I was chosen for this character. And yet that character is the composite opposite of everything that God would want you to be. I mean, absolutely. As a matter of fact, when I signed my autographs, and whatever autographs I sign here, I signed my name and I put a big $sign under the name, and across the bottom of that $sign, I write this scripture, Matthew 16:26. And I always wish I could be a fly on the wall and people go home and read that scripture. Because the $1 Million Man gave them this scripture, Jesus' words, "For what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? What will he give in exchange for his soul?" So what an irony. This is the 18th year that I have been in ministry and evangelism. A lot of exciting things happening. My ministry, Heart of David Ministry, has been selected by our governor to be the face of his faith-based initiative for the state of Mississippi.
Congratulations.
So we're really excited about that. It's kind of like I had a minister tell me one time, if you get this idea of something you want to do for God and you think you can do it, it's probably not God. But if something comes along and it's so big, it scares the heck out of you, you can be sure it's God. And so that's where I'm at right now with the Faith-Based Initiative. But it's going to be exciting. And I think, as you know, I did a documentary. The documentary was in works for a long time for a lot of different reasons. I want to thank all the people out there who contributed to the kickstarting campaign for Pete Fierro, who was the producer of it. Go figure, the $1 Million Man doing a Kickstarter campaign to raise money, right?
The irony will
Can't
always...
believe everything you see on TV, folks, right?
The irony will always be there, yeah.
But anyway, we did a theatrical release, a Fathom Relief, one night across the country. We did okay. We were a little disappointed with the theatrical turnout, but on Amazon and on iTunes, I think we're in the top 20. Well, on Amazon, we trended #1
that's awesome.
for a while, and then on iTunes, I think we've been in the top 20 documentary presentations, which is pretty cool. And
absolutely.
Walmart's about to pick us up, and there'll be DVDs available at Walmart. So we're rocking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, the Heart of David Ministry is where you currently are now. How will people get in touch with your ministry, find information on that?
You can go to heartofdavidministry.com. I also MDM Ted DiBiase on Twitter. And I've got also a public Facebook page, which is $1 Million Man. So I'm not hard to find.
Well, I tell you what, we can't thank you enough for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All the stories have been fantastic. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, thank you for being with us.
It's my pleasure, but just one more thing before I go, right,
Please.
guys? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Just remember, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
We're going to end it there. There's no worry about that's it.
Oh, yes, that was awesome.
My
All right,
pleasure.
guys.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Oh.